Morningside is a postage stamp-sized Auckland suburb sandwiched somewhere between Eden Park and a mighty big shopping mall, with a railway track running through the middle. But don't think that this place doesn't have heart. After all, this neighbourhood was immortalised by the animated TV series Brotown, and it's home to a mixed bag of over several thousand people, including me. When I was a kid, everyone thought I was Chinese. When I reached high school, they thought I was Indian. Now, depending if I have a mo or not, they either think I'm Mexican or Samoan. In fact, I'm actually Filipino. But being a cultural chameleon like myself, I feel very at home in a community as diverse and accepting as this one. In this episode of Neighbourhood, we'll get invited inside a treasured venue built by the first Polish refugees to New Zealand.
Dzień dobry, jak się masz? Ślicznie wyglądasz. It's a joy to get together because we didn't have our own personal families. We count one another as brothers and sisters, and if anyone is in trouble, we're there.
A Baptist minister shares his vision for the Morningside of the future.
Places that people who follow Jesus live in, they should get better. They should become more full of grace and peace and love and truth. And so part of our thing is like, how do we outwork this faith we have in a real context, not just in a faith community context.
We'll listen to a local DJ demonstrate his love of Indian folk music.
At the end of the day, if you can leave a mark in someone's heart by saying something, by singing something, that makes a difference in the other person's life. That is the most important factor.
And we'll enjoy the kind of family feast that keeps homesickness at bay.
There is a debate between Greece and Turkey about the baklava. Turkey is saying that it's their dessert. Greece is saying it's our dessert, you know?
My name is David Korios, and this is my neighbourhood. My parents moved to Christchurch in the 80s, and it wasn't very diverse back then. I remember when I was in primary school, I got called the N-word for the first time when I was 8 years old, which didn't really make sense because I clearly looked Asian and not African American. It was like they had some kind of racial random abuse generator built into them. It's weird, eh? But it's pretty cool because I've been able to turn those experiences into a career in comedy for me. I think my biggest claim to fame so far is this stupid Miley Cyrus costume tutorial video. It's gotten just under 1 million views, but I promise, most of my material is about the culture clash that I had as a Filipino growing up in New Zealand. It's pretty crazy the things you take from your culture as a child and how they apply later on in your life, from your choice of career to the love of music you have. And for this local DJ at a Hindi radio station, it's pretty much the same thing.
My name is Dev Sachindra Prasad. I was born in Fiji, Suva. I came to New Zealand first in 2011. I came here because my mom, younger brother and sister live here. I came with my entire family and I started working here for 106.2 FM and I've been here since then.
106.2 FM, your hottest Auckland's only Hindi from Radio Pirate. Well, हम FM drive आपके लिए जारी है and Dave and Sandy के साथ में आप भी enjoy कर रहे हैं.
My on-air persona would be a very flirtatious and a very cheeky boy who does all these leg-pulling stuff.
In a relationship, no matter what the guy does for the girl, she will never be happy. You know, कुछ भी कर ले यार बंदा.
Was you dating some girl from the Mars or from where?
No. So listeners, come on, you have to back me up.
Top 6 at 6, playing the top 6 songs of the day, weekdays.
I think a lot of listeners were actually surprised because I'm going to take part in a bhajan competition. Listeners got, whoa, it's like, this cheeky boy has another side to him. So, yeah, basically, I sing Tambura Bhajans, which in very simple terms would be folk or religious folk songs. Bhajans, Tambura Bhajans are performed in prayer ceremonies. It is also performed in places where there's funerals, there are certain days of rituals. And it is also done in a larger scale where there are competitions held. So this is when I performed the bhajan competition in Hamilton. This is the trophy, actually, when I took part in Hamilton. This was given to me with a certificate, and this was given to me when I took part in the bhajan competition against Fiji's #1. I come from a very religious background. I think everyone back in Fiji or even back in India have their religious and cultural values, and I think we all have that. So today we're having a practice over here, and the setup is very much like an actual bhajan competition. Me and my friend Deo, just to give me a feel of how there's an opponent sitting there and how I would react and how things would be. So a Tambura Bhajan competition or Bhajan competition is like a debate. It is all about putting your point across and standing your ground and supporting your argument. So basically, I'm talking about, I have a very strong point of view about God lies within every living being, and I'm going to go with that theme, and I'm going to stand my case that this is what it is all about. The competition will be amongst the two artists, the way they sing, the theme they're talking about, or the topics they have taken, and how good they are in delivering the message. Bhajan competitions actually go for 5 hours or even more than that. Of course, back in Fiji, it is on a very large scale. Up to 5,000–6,000 people would come there. I know probably 20 to 30 bhajans, and I'm still learning. That's not enough. I think that's enough for a couple of bhajan competitions. But it's not about competitions even. It's about what you believe, what you stand for. At the end of the day, if you can leave a mark in someone's heart by saying something, by singing something that makes a difference in the other person's life, that is the most important factor. So I think that is what I go for.
Did you know that Lorde recorded the Grammy Award-winning song Royals right here in this studio? In Morningside. You know, she's 19 and she's killing it on the world stage. I'm so jealous. My dad met my mum at my mum's late husband's funeral, because my dad obviously thought, well, she's gonna be single. Now, I know that's not the best start, but they are actually both massive inspirations to me, especially my mum. My mum was a midwife in the Philippines, and she ended up getting caught in a war between the Filipino government and the New People's Army. She was suspected of being a commander in the area, and she was actually held in the barracks for 3 days without anyone knowing. Hearing stories like that from my parents makes me really appreciate how awesome and safe Morningside is. It's a place that's getting a little bit more heart every day.
Morningside, it's been a place that kind of didn't exist. Apart from Brotown, where there was this Morningside for Life slogan, outside of that, it was like, what is Morningside? There was a train station, and people knew that, but there was no kind of heart to it outside of it. And so it seemed to be a neighbourhood where people, they slept in beds in the neighbourhood, but they would live in other neighbourhoods. And so part of our thing is, how do we try and help people to live in this place, you know, and to feel like they belong, to feel like they are locals, and they're engaged and they have some pride in it. I'm Nigel Cottle, and I live in Morningside. I live with my family, my wife Kathy, and my daughters Anae, Portia, and Trelise. And next door to us in the same building, we have the Bradleys. And so our two families bought this building about 9 years ago and moved into the neighbourhood.
We just wanted to create a sense of belonging in an area. We wanted to love an area. And so we moved into this community to do that, to just random acts of kindness continuously and try and make this neighbourhood a better place to live.
So I run Crave Cafe, and Crave Cafe is set up by a collective, and its primary purpose is to make the neighbourhood a better place to live. I'm registered Baptist pastor in the Baptist Union of New Zealand. And so I spent 10 years before moving in here as a youth pastor in 2 different Baptist churches. And so part of this is my attempt to live out my faith in a practical, meaningful, expressive way. Hey guys, so you're on now. Sweet, how's biz?
Oh man.
Yeah? Rocking? What are you guys up to today?
Chilling, hanging out with that guy.
We don't have a lot of churchy stuff or things like that, and it's because it's not about that, you know. The point is like, come to the cafe and we're going to try and convert you into something. So that's not. We just want to make this neighbourhood better, you know. Like there's places that people who follow Jesus live in, they should get better. They should become more full of grace and peace and love and truth. And so part of our thing is like, how do we outwork this faith we have in a real context, not just in a faith community context. So the cafe works that we give all of our profits away, and so we have a kind of ratio that 80% go back into the neighbourhood and 20% go into the global poverty stuff. Everyone that works in the business gets paid, but people can volunteer. And so, yeah, if people want to kind of get some work experience, or we have a relationship with the drug courts, and so we'll take some people who have, you know, been making some bad decisions but are trying to make good decisions now. We run a suspended coffee system. You buy a coffee for someone in need, and essentially what we've done is we've partnered with a few different organisations that minister to the poor and needy or the less fortunate in the neighbourhood. Our little problem right now is we probably have a few too many suspended coffees bought than we can distribute, which is an awesome problem to have. It fills me with great pride to have a neighbourhood that is so generous to those that are less fortunate. So we try and bookend summer with street parties, so we'll have one at the start of December and one at the end of March-ish. The idea with the street party is just to get neighbours, you know, out of their houses and sitting together around, you know, some food, some fun, you know, bouncy castles, that kind of thing, and just engaging.
We want the neighbourhood that you live in to be the best neighbourhood in Auckland, which happens to be one of the best cities in the world, right? And the only way we're going to do that is by building the neighbourhood that we want to live in together, okay?
We actually started the street parties before Crave even started. We just wanted to talk to the neighbours, you know, and get everyone connecting. And so the first one was a pig on a spit out on the road. We weren't quite legal in terms of how we closed it, but, you know, yeah, it was good.
I found Julian, and you know, we live in the same street, just over the hill here, and we didn't know that. So you know, it's just a lovely thing to meet Julian and make this special acquaintance today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Living in a city can make it a little bit harder if you're not prepared to get out there and chat to people. But I guess everyone's kind of transient in and out of their different places and going to work during the day and that type of thing. But I think the big thing is just be prepared to get out, chat to your neighbours, hang out, make yourself available. And if you can do that, I think people are keen to meet.
There's not objective data that you can use to say, you know, how are you going with connections in the neighbourhood? No one measures that, so it comes out of the stories, and we're just seeing more and more stories of connection. And there's different communities that exist in these online communities, but there's something about your geographical neighbour community that is something special, you know. And it's a treat to walk around your neighbourhood and feel like you belong, and feel like you're a local, and this is your place.
I know I don't look like an athlete, but I actually used to be an Olympic weightlifter. I almost made it to the Commonwealth Games, but on my last competition, I actually broke my ankle. But that's all good though, because at least I can call myself New Zealand's strongest comedian, which is a pretty good combination, especially when you have a bad gig. My parents always told me that I got my confidence from my granddad. When he was a young man, he bluffed his way onto a ship as a chef and then left as an engineer. That's not too bad for a kid that left school at the 3rd grade. Us Filipinos love our elders. We respect their wisdom, but we're not the only ones around here that honor the older generation.
Zosiu, dzień dobry, bo ja mam się ze wszystkimi przywitać. Marysiu, dzień dobry, jak się masz? Ślicznie wyglądasz, ślicznie wyglądasz. This is our beautiful Polish house, and we are so proud of it. So proud. This is the place where we can meet together, enjoy one another, and relax a little bit. Ludzie przy barze. Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. Witamy się. It is a joy to meet up with some of the orphans from Bahiatua. Dzień dobry. Yeah, we hug one another, we kiss one another, we never stop talking. We act like a family, members of the family. I tell you the story about our deportation during the war. That war broke out between Germany and Poland. Only 17 days after the war broke out, the Russians walked in and took half of Poland.
During the night, they came up and break it in, and we had to get dressed and go. My brother was the eldest, my sister, and I was the baby. I was only 16 months old when they deported us from Poland to Russia.
They put the Polish people into hard labor camps. That was our fate, living in these camps, under guard, never able to leave the camp, and extremely harsh climate, and very hard work, and very little to eat.
Where we were taken to Siberia, the camp commandant used to say, "This is where you're going to die. This is where you're going to die." That's what he was telling us all the time. And another thing that he used to say, "Kto nie работает, nie кушает." Who doesn't work, doesn't eat.
Dad dug his own grave hole, and by the end of he got shot after when they finished work, turned around, and he was shot in the head and died there. My sister and my brother and myself, we were left as the orphans.
733 Polish children arrived in Wellington on the 1st of November, 1944.
And then from there we went to Payatua camp. We were coming on a train to Payatua, but the train stopped at just about every stop, and the school children used to meet us with the ice cream, lollies, and they were, absolutely wonderful. We never seen so many children, New Zealand children. It was most exciting.
We were so elated, we could say thank you, thank you, thank you, and that was all what we could do. We had everything we wished for: good home, school, food, and care. Here, as you see, a group of children. I am among them, the very last one on the left. For us, it's a joy to get together because we didn't have our own personal families. We count one another as brothers and sisters, and if anyone is in trouble, we're there.
That's so funny.
There are lots of Polish children, well, they're grown up now, that they don't even imagine how their mothers and fathers looked, because they were very, very small. We used to meet in Victoria Street, a building that belonged to the Catholic Church. Oh, had our afternoon tea and talking and gossiping on everything, just to be together. We decided that we need something for ourselves, a house.
The first idea was that those who can will give 1 week's wages. And we'll have a little bit of money that way, and on the strength of that, we might be able to get a loan from the bank. So bought the house, and then took it apart and put this one up.
New Zealand has done everything for me because my parents couldn't. So, to me, the Polish house is a home.
My children used to say, Mom, why don't I build you accommodation? You'll be living here because you're spending more time in the Polish house than in your home. That's true. My heart and body and soul belong to this house.
We are grateful to New Zealand for accepting us, and we thank the Lord that we are still alive. If it were not for God, we would not be here. I am old, but I'm still alive. For how long? I don't know.
You glad that I don't get naked at shows anymore?
Oh, so much. You don't embarrass me anymore. I'm so embarrassed when you start taking off your clothes in the show day.
I used to be a pretty naughty kid, eh, Ma?
Yes, you are. I got a problem with you.
Well, what about that time with the vase in it?
Yeah, when I told you not to touch my vase, and the next thing I know, you put your head inside the vase.
Yeah, I was weird, and I was always full of energy, and I remember I actually used to get bullied by all the other Filipino kids in the community. And it wasn't actually till I became a teenager till I started making real friends. And by that point, I realized they were all Kiwis. I used to actually change my accent just so I could fit in more. Meanwhile, back at home, it was full-on Filipino immersion. Like, for instance, sometimes we eat with our hands, which is a very Filipino thing to do. Obviously, don't do that at a restaurant, because they'll think you're weird, especially if you're eating soup. But what really amazes me is how much of what we think of as our culture is immersed in the food that we eat and the people that we share it with.
Look at this, Elena. That's Dad. This is me. Yaya Maria, look. She was young, eh? My name is Emily Tsaliagou, and I was born in Greece, Athens. Do I look like you? I think I do, Elena.
Sort of.
Sort of. This is my wedding photo.
Not really liking the hair.
I left my parents' place when I got married with my husband, Donald Montes. He's half Greek, half Kiwi. We never thought that we're gonna move here. After we had our children, we thought that it's the best place to raise children. So we thought we'll give it a try.
Well, today we're at the Greek community at Morningside for our daughters Elena and Mariana, so they can learn how to read and write Greek. We obviously talk Greek in our house, but I mean, they need to learn how to read and write it.
Καλώς τους. Τι γίνεται, όλοι εντάξει. Ελάτε, μια χαρά. Εσείς, πώς πάει? Όλα καλά. Εντάξει, όλα καλά. Μικρές. Όλα καλά. Άντε, πηγαίνετε μέσα. Θα γράψω 1-2 για να δεις παράδειγμα. Λοιπόν, έχεις
Έχεις λοιπόν το Μαριάννα γράφω εδώ στη γωνία, έτσι.
Well, for me, it's really important for my girls to keep the Greek language, first of all, the Greek traditions. Of course, I'm showing them a lot for the Greek cuisine, mostly, because it's a very big part of our tradition. Today, I'm going to cook baklava. Have to grate the walnuts first. I'm gonna make baklava because it's my younger daughter's 8th birthday party. It's a good opportunity to make it, I think. I learned how to make a dessert through my auntie back in Greece. They own a bakery and she was always making it mostly Christmas time. 2 sheets. The way I'm going to make it today is a bit different. Put some of the mixture on top. I'm not making it with layers of the filo pastry, but I'm making it as a roll. Back in Greece, we call it saragli. That's the name we call that kind of baklava. But it's a baklava, the same ingredients. There is a debate between Greece and Turkey about the baklava. Turkey is saying that it's their dessert. Greece is saying it's our dessert, you know? I don't really think that it's one country's dessert only. It's both countries' dessert. When you're making the baklava the other way with the layers, it's much more difficult because you have to butter each filo. I'm going to make the syrup for the baklava. Greek people always want to make our food on our own. Yeah, we prefer that than buy ready-made ones. We prefer to make our own. My girls love the baklava. They love it. So whenever there is an opportunity to make it, I'm making it. Okay, I think. It smells really nice, isn't it? Cinnamon and cloves, I think. You know, in Greece, you don't need to have a reason to celebrate. I remember at my parents' place, we were always having a party. Always. A lot of food, a lot of wine, and a lot of laugh. It was nice. One thing that helped me a lot after we moved here was the extended family, because my husband has family here, and I can't live without having family around me, you know. Our Greek traditions are really important to us.
That's good. That's good. Is it? Oh my God! Are you sure?
This is who we are. And I want my children to learn that.
It kind of saddens me that some New Zealanders have to wait to hear a Kiwi accent before they'll give any respect to an Asian Kiwi. And it's horrible to think that if someone has had a bad experience with someone that shares my culture, they'll automatically think badly of me. Trust me, race is irrelevant when it comes to being a dickhead. They're everywhere. It's a global thing. And to quote Brotown, we're honkies, Asians, hories, and curry munchers. Morningside for life.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.